AI revolution is here. But there's something hiding just beneath the surface of all this incredible innovation, a physical reality we can't ignore anymore. And that is an insane and maybe even catastrophic need for power. We're talking about a gamble with stakes so high it's about to reshape the entire global energy landscape. Forever.
And look, this isn't some far-off prediction. The International Energy Agency is projecting that the electricity eaten up by data centers is going to more than double in just the next 6 years. To give you an idea of what 945 terawatt-hours means, that's more than the entire country of Japan uses right now. The growth is just exponential, and it's happening right now.
So that leads us to the single most important question of the next decade, a question that's going to define who leads in technology and who gets left behind. Where on earth are we going to get all of this power?
All right, so before we can even talk about a solution, we have to get our heads around the real problem. This isn't just about building more data centers. It's about a complete change in what a data center even is. This is the AI power crisis.
Okay, now this is where the scale of the problem just slaps you in the face. A traditional server rack, the kind that's been running the internet for the last decade, it pulls about 4 to 6 kilowatts. But a single rack of NVIDIA's new Blackwell AI chips, it can pull up to 120 kilowatts. That's not a small step up, that is a 20-fold leap in power density.
And this quote just lays it all out, doesn't it? Basically, almost everything we've built is already obsolete. Just think about that. Fewer than 5% of all the data centers on the entire planet can handle even half the power of one new AI rack. We're not talking about upgrading a few things. This requires a total rip it out and start over kind of overhaul.
And here's the critical part. This isn't just a problem for tech companies and their shiny data centers. This is a grid problem for all of us. This crazy demand is putting a massive strain on a system that, let's be honest, is decades old. The US Department of Energy is not playing around here. They're warning about a potential 100-fold increase in blackout risks if we don't get our act together. If you're starting to see these hidden connections that really drive the global economy, do us a favor and support these deep dives by clicking that subscribe button. We're decoding these invisible forces every single week.
So while a lot of people are just now waking up to this crisis, you can bet the world's biggest financial players are already way ahead of the game. They see this problem not just as a risk, but as the single biggest investment opportunity of a generation. Which brings us to what we're calling the $100 billion pivot.
The scale of this challenge is just immense, but it's matched by the sheer amount of capital being thrown at it. Because when there's a crisis this big, the smart money, they always have a plan.
$100 billion. Just let that sink in for a second. That's the starting fund being put together to solve this. This isn't some small venture capital play. This is a global, coordinated push to build the actual physical foundation of the entire AI economy.
And here's who's behind it. The Global AI Infrastructure Investment Partnership, or GAIIP. It's a powerhouse team. You've got BlackRock, the biggest asset manager on the planet, teaming up with Microsoft, who's driving a huge part of this AI demand. Their mission is crystal clear: fund the new data centers and all the energy infrastructure needed to actually run them.
Hey, but you don't have to take my word for it. Just listen to Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock. He is calling this a multi-trillion-dollar long-term investment opportunity. When the guy managing over $10 trillion says that, you listen. That $100 billion, that's just the down payment to unlock that multi-trillion-dollar prize. So where is all that cash going? How do you generate that kind of insane 24/7 power that AI needs? Look, solar and wind are great, but they come and go with the weather. AI never sleeps, and that's exactly why the smart money is betting big on one specific answer: the nuclear solution.
And get this, it's already happening. Big tech is not sitting around waiting. Amazon Web Services went out and bought a data center that's powered directly by a nearly 1,000 megawatt nuclear plant. Microsoft went even further and officially joined the World Nuclear Association. And across the board, tech companies have already signed deals for over 10 gigawatts of new nuclear power. That is the equivalent of 10 huge reactors.
But here is the most mind-blowing example of all. The name 3 Mile Island. It's basically infamous in the history of nuclear energy, right? Well, in a deal that would have been unthinkable just a few years ago, Microsoft is actually helping fund the restart of one of its reactors, a reactor that was shut down years ago, specifically to provide clean, reliable power for its data centers. This is a massive shift.
So why nuclear? It all boils down to this one simple term: clean,
firm power. It just means energy that's carbon-free and it's always on, 24/7, no matter if the sun's out or the wind's blowing. For AI's non-stop, around-the-clock hunger for computation, it is the perfect solution. You know, this pivot to nuclear is literally reshaping the entire energy market for the next decade. So I'm curious, what do you think the bigger play is here? Is it the uranium to fuel the plants, or is it the copper needed to build absolutely everything? Drop your prediction in the comments below. I really do read every single one.
Okay, but a revolution this big, it doesn't just stop at the power plant, right? Building all this stuff is going to trigger a massive, massive demand shock for the raw materials that make it all happen. We're talking about the start of a brand new materials super cycle. Let's just take copper, for example. It's the metal of electricity. The projections are just staggering. By 2030, data centers alone will need over 1 million metric tons of copper every single year. And this is totally new demand, hitting a market that experts say is already in a structural deficit, meaning we've been using more than we can find for years. And what happens when that kind of demand hits? Well, the market is already screaming. This isn't some future problem. Look at this. In just one recent month, the price of copper shot up over 12%. That's what an ignition point looks like on a chart.
And what's so wild is that this demand goes from the huge power lines all the way down to the tiny circuits. It's not just about the grid. NVIDIA itself is now switching to copper cables inside their supercomputers just to handle all that power. And don't forget, it's not just copper. Think about all the uranium needed for those reactors. The demand is at literally every single level of the stack.
So, that's where we are. AI's thirst for power, it's undeniable. It's a real and immediate threat to our aging grid. But here's the final question. Is this the breaking point? Is this the thing that finally takes it all down? Or is this massive challenge the one thing that will finally force us to rebuild it all from the ground up? Look, if you want to really understand just how fragile this whole system is, you need to see this. Tap the screen right now to watch our deep dive on why the US grid is 50 years outdated. Seriously, it's a must-watch. I'll see you there.